Hey guys, welcome back to Stock My Closet. Today I'm sharing how to make an A-line dress with the ruffle. I have taken 2.5 meter cotton fabric and fabric width is 52 inches. Let's start with the cutting. So here I have cut out required length from the fabric and I have folded the fabric half in width and then half in length. After folding, length is 39.5 inches and width is 26 inches. But I don't need the full width for this dress. You could mark and cut directly like this, but that would leave leftover fabric that's hard to use. So to avoid fabric waste, I'm cutting only the required width, which is 21 inches. So now I'm unfolding the fabric and folding it twice lengthwise. Since the fabric is now open, I'm marking 42 inches on the width. This is because I had marked 21 inches on the unfold fabric earlier. Now that it's open, it's 42 inches. So I've cut it out. Now remaining fabric length is 11 inches. I can use this leftover piece for the ruffle. If I had cut it directly on fold earlier, I would be left with two 5.5 inches strips, which wouldn't be very useful. So always check your fabric length and width to make the best use of it. Now I'm folding the fabric again, first by half in width and then in length. So here I have 4 layers of fabric and I'm taking on full side as center. Now I'll mark the measurements. For shoulder, take half of your shoulder measurement. In my measurement, that is 7 inches. Neck width is 2.75 inches. From shoulder, I'll mark 0.75 inch downwards for shoulder slope and I'll join this point to the neck width point. Next, from the end of the shoulder slope, I'll mark the armhole depth. And for that, take half of your armhole round. In my measurement, it is 7 inches. But since this is a sleeveless dress, I'm reducing it by 0.25 inch. So I'll mark a point at 6.75 inches. For the front armhole curve, mark 1 inch inwards and join it to the shoulder slope point. Now I'll mark the vertical lengths. Shoulder to waist 14 inches. Shoulder to hip 21 inches. And total length of dress 39 inches. Now I'll mark the body round measurements. For the bust, take bust round measurement, add ease and divide it by 4. In my measurement, bust round is 37 inches and I'm adding 3 inches of ease. So 37 plus 3 is 40 inches and dividing it by 4, I'll get 10 inches. I'm not marking the waist since this is a loose fit A-line dress and waist shaping is not needed. Now for the hip, take your hip round measurement, add ease and divide it by 4. In my measurement, hip round is 41 inches and I'm adding 10 inches of ease. So 41 plus 10 is 51 inches and dividing it by 4, I'll get 12.75 inches. Bottom round measurement is 20 inches. Now usually for A-line shape, we join bust point to the hip point and then extend that line straight to the bottom. Since the bottom round is much wider, I'll just mark straight line from the bust to the bottom. And I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance. Now I'll draw both front and back armhole curves. Now measure hip to bottom. This is 18 inches. And on the other side, it's 19 inches. So I'll mark 1 inch upward and join it to the bottom with a slight curve to even it out. And with this marking for dress is complete, I'll just cut it out. Next, I'll cut the ruffle. I'm using the leftover fabric. I want the ruffle to be 7 inches long, and I'll need 1.5 inches extra for seam allowance. So total will be 8.5 inches. Length of this fabric is around 39 inches and I have 2 layers. I'll mark 8.5 inches and cut out the ruffle. For the second piece, I'll simply place the first ruffle piece on the remaining fabric and cut it out. So with this, cutting of the dress is complete. Now let's move on to the stitching part. I'm making round neckline for both front and back. For the front neckline, I've taken neck width 2.75 inches and neck depth is 7 inches. I'll draw smooth round shape and cut it out. For back neckline, I'm taking neck width 2.5 inches and neck depth 6.5 inches. I'll mark the round shape and cut it out. Now I'll finish front and back neckline and armholes. Firstly, I have attached facing to the front neckline. Now I'll stitch along the neckline shape, then trim off the extra fabric. Next, turn the facing to the wrong side. You can either top stitch along the edge or do a clean hemming to secure it in place. Now for the back neckline, I'm using bias tape. Next, place the front and back pieces right sides together and make a stitch along the shoulders. And now I'll stitch the side seam on just one side. Other side will be stitched after attaching the ruffle. Now I'm joining the two ruffle pieces together to make one long strip. So I've joined them together. Now I'll finish the bottom edge of the ruffle. Fold the seam allowance twice and stitch along the edge to give it a clean finish. And now on the other side of the ruffle, I'll add gathers. Set your sewing machine to the longest stitch length and make a straight stitch across the top. Make sure to leave the long thread tails on both sides. So this is how it will look. Now pull back side thread to adjust gathers according to the bottom of the dress. So I've adjusted gathers and I've attached ruffle to the dress and I've pinned it up. And now I'll make a stitch to secure it. Here is how the gathers look after stitching. You can also add a top stitch on the ruffle to keep it flat and neat. Finally, I'll stitch the other side seam. And with this, my A-line dress with ruffle is ready. It's simple, flowy and perfect for everyday wear. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it easy to follow. If you did, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more sewing videos. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.